All right, let's get this started. Oh, I should really be shooting that way. Okay, so before we get into the actual stand itself and how I have everything set up and why I think this is different than those who have kind of pioneered this, like Caleb from DSLR Shooter and Peter McKinnon did one with aperture lighting. I saw those and I saw ways that we could do this better. But before we get into that, I just wanted to show you what it looked like in use. Now, I don't always obviously shoot against a gray backdrop, but I really want to show you how this is set up and how this light travels across. That was one of the big things that when I saw the other setups, that was kind of a hang up for me. Some of those stands are built so that everything is kind of like straight up and down. And I believe that's sort of the case of what happened with the one that Peter McKinnon did with apertures, that the light was very front focused and you lose all of that shape, all of that kind of Rembrandt style of lighting, which I love. I love the light coming across, giving a little highlight onto my cheek and falling into shadow and just creating that interest. So I really wanted to create something that was easy to use that looked like that. Now, if we pop over to a wide angle here, as you can see, I've got my camera here, my light here, my microphone here, and everything is just really nice and clean, easy to move, easy to operate. And the biggest thing with this, and that is one of the major reasons why I wanted to create it, was I wanted something that was easier to use. Now, some of the other stands, there's a lot of grip going on, and I wanted to simplify things for people who maybe don't understand grip or don't want to mess with grip, and they just want to be able to change things very quickly from sitting to standing, from moving it around to setting up different lighting, all those different types of things. So we're gonna get into that, but first I just wanted to show you this. Let's just take you into the stand. All right, so here we are with essentially the heart and the body of this entire system. Now, the stand itself, it's got a really wide base. As you can see, it compacts really, really small, easy to put into a closet, into a corner or something like that. And when you're not using it, if you're not gonna be using it for a little bit and you just wanna store it away, it does break down into a very small form factor. Now, with the legs out, there's just these little pins. Pull that up, snaps into place. Now, again, huge shout out to Caleb from DSLR Shooter. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he's the first one that ever came up with this whole idea of putting an entire YouTube setup on a stand, and it is a brilliant idea. Now, the only issue that I ran into was it was sort of piecemeal together with various bits of grip gear, different clamps, different arms, different things that if you're not familiar with grip gear could be just unuser friendly. So I wanted to create something that was just a lot cleaner, a lot simpler to use. And what I ended up landing on was these arms here, which you essentially just have a hole through the middle that will slide over top of this center column and just allow you to adjust your light, your camera, everything like that very, very easily, very, very quickly. Now, as you can see, I can pull down on this and it's super solid. I can also push up on it, and that's just due to the leverage from having the weight of whatever you're putting on here sort of outside pulling down. It's just creating some friction on this center column, making the grip just that much tighter. But that being said, I can just easily squeeze this together and move it up and down. So any adjustments that I need to make, I'm not loosening anything off, I'm not adjusting any arms. It's just as simple as sliding it up and sliding it down. So the way this works is I've got my additional center column here, and it's about 3.5 feet long, or essentially just over a meter. And what you do is you slide this on over top, and it's got this tension piece right here in the middle. And you just line it up, take your little Allen key here, and you just turn that and tighten that up a little bit. And what that does is it essentially spreads out that piece that's in the middle and makes it so that this can't come off. Then from there, I've got 3 of those arms attached onto here, and you can just take those and slide them to wherever they need to be. So I'm going to add my microphone, my camera, my lighting to all these different pieces, and I'll show you guys exactly how this is set up. So the first thing that we're gonna mount is the camera, and I'm just gonna get these arms out of the way here just to give me a little bit more room to work. But so what I'm gonna be using is my little Joby ball head. Now I got this off of my GorillaPod. I wasn't using it for anything else, so I decided to mount it to this system. Now the way that I'm doing that is I picked up this little spigot from StroPro, which essentially just has the screw mount on the bottom. You put that on there and then just mount it into the arm itself. Now, if you don't have another ball head just kind of kicking around, you don't want to spend a lot of money. These cameras that we're using right now, they tend to be mirrorless. They're not very heavy. We don't need anything super robust. So StroPro also does have these little kind of cheaper ball heads, if you will. And each of these arms comes with this standard long spigot. So all you do is just mount this to that spigot. You can drop this in, and then this gives you your ball head right here. So again, just something that makes this a little bit more cost effective, but works just as well. Now, typically what I would be doing is I would be mounting my Sony a6400 to this system, but that's what I'm using to talk to you guys right now. So I've got my Nikon Z7 VI Mark II here just as a placeholder for it, but yeah, we'll just lock that in, and then we've got all the positioning we need. If we need to slide it down, we slide it down. If we need to slide it up, we slide it up. It's that easy. So from here, I'm gonna mount my lighting. So for mounting the lighting, I've just added one of those spigots that I was talking about into this arm here, and I'm using the StroPro Flex LED lights. Now, these are a 2 foot by 2 foot light, and I've done an entire video on these lights, which I will link up here somewhere, but essentially they're a really small footprint. They are extremely versatile in that they're bicolor, and they give off really nice light. Now, the other thing that works so well with this stand, the power cord for these lights is like 20 feet long. So you can really move this stand around while it's plugged in without having to worry about running into an issue where you're yanking your power cord out of the wall or anything like that. So we're just gonna mount this up here quick. Tighten that down. And then as you can see, just for adjusting this, I'll turn it this way so you can see. You just squeeze up, squeeze down. You can rotate that wherever it needs to be. Again, it just makes it just super easy to configure exactly where you want these things to go. So the last thing I have to mount here is my microphone, and then I'll show you guys the entire setup in its glory and how it works. So for my mic, I'm using this little scissor arm that I got off of Amazon for like 10 or 15 bucks or something like that. Now this bottom piece was a little bit thin, so all I did was I took some gaff tape and I just wrapped it around, beefed it up a little bit, you know, a little bit MacGyver-ish, if you will. And all I'm doing is I'm just gonna slap that in there, tighten that down, and then I've got a nice, hitting my mic, I've got a nice little boom arm here so I can adjust the mic to wherever it needs to go. Now the mic that I'm going to put on here is my Rode NT-G4 Plus, which is currently mounted on a stand right here, which is how you're hearing me as I speak right this second. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put that onto here, and then I will show you guys all of the business as it works as one solid piece. So here we are again, this time from a standing position just upstairs in the loft. I've got my light here, I've got my microphone here, I've got my camera, I've got my small HD monitor just because I do like having that extra framing size. But this is the setup in its entirety, and it's so clean and so easy to use. And the big thing with this and what separates it from the other stands that have been put out there is just how easily it is to adjust. As I was saying, if I wanted to change the angle of this, I just simply move the stand over, and there, now we're set up in the corner. I didn't have to move a bunch of stands or anything like that. But the other thing with this is how quickly it is to move up and down. So if you're going from standing to sitting, we're gonna do that super quick here. Bring my stool, drop my camera a little bit, drop my light, and drop my microphone. Bring that up a touch. Bring this in. And there we go. It's that quick. It's that easy. Now, some of you might be saying, well, okay, Nathan, you've got a giant studio space. What about me who's shooting in my bedroom or my home office or anything like that? Well, I use this in my home office all of the time. From the base to the very top of the stand is about 7 feet tall. So unless you're living in some sort of small hobbit house, you should have at least 8-foot ceilings, which means that you can maneuver this within that room quite easily. And like I said, I use this in my home office, which is not a big space at all. I have it tucked up against the wall into the corner, and that's how I get the angle where I'm doing all of my editing and different things like that for different videos. When you guys see that, this is what I'm using. Now, the other thing with this is, again, just its ability to store. You essentially just take the whole unit and slide it somewhere where it's out of the way, and then it's just easy to grab and pull back out to use again. So with that, as I was saying, this stand, it is the heart and the body of all of this. If you have your own lighting, if you have your own microphone, if you have your own camera, all of those things, you can fit that to this system. If you're looking for those things, this is the setup that I've built, but it's not for everyone. So in the description below, I'll list a couple of different options that I found for lights that would work very, very well. Different options for different budgets. Same with microphones, whether or not you need it powered or if you can use something like a micro microphone, something like that. Camera-wise, I mean, I use the Sony a6400. If you've already got a system set up, again, use what you will. I really enjoy this one for video, but again, that's just personal opinion. But aside from that, yeah, I'll list a whole bunch of options down below in the description. You can check all of those things out. Like I said, with this whole stand, it's just changed the way that I'm able to create things. It's just made everything so much easier. So with that, if you guys did like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd very much appreciate it. If you have any comments about the system, any questions about anything like that, use the comments box down below. That's what it's there for. And as always, I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Cheers.